You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
The Paracast is brought to you by Audible.com, the internet's leading provider of audiobooks with more than 100,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, including fiction, nonfiction, and periodicals. For a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/Paracast. We have a fascinating show here because we're going to add something to this episode that we haven't had very often, and that is audio clips, interviews, stuff that might appeal to you. There's a whole bunch of them. We'll hear at least some of them during the course of our 3-hour episode. We'll get into that in just a moment. The last time we talked to Chris, he was speaking to us from California on a mobile phone, and it didn't sound so good. Yeah, so maybe you could flesh out your trip to the West Coast a bit more, because they will relate in a few minutes to our guests.
Well, not much to say. I had a good time. There was really good turnout for my talks. I spoke in San Jose and, down L.A. MUFON and Orange County MUFON. And then I did an appearance on our good friend Greg Bishop's show, Radio Misterioso. I had a good time. Visited Greg and saw his wonderful book collection. My God, he's got an incredible whole shelf full of signed books, some going all the way back into the contactee period. And he had a first edition Charles Fort, I think Lowe. Just a wonderful, wonderful book collection. Of course, we didn't have much time to hang out because I ended up having to leave the following morning. But all in all, it was a good trip. Left with a ton of books and came back empty-handed. And
that's the kind of empty-handedness you want, because those are books that you sell.
Yes. Okay. That was good. Also, I think I brought 10 Doom handbooks, which also sold very well in these uncertain times. It's quite a interesting book. Adventures Unlimited just published it. It's based on the U.S. military survival manual, and it's fleshed out and geared more towards a civilian reader. But boy, talk about having everything in it but the kitchen sink. How to birth.
It doesn't tell you how to bring a kitchen sink with you when the world ends.
No, it doesn't. But it probably has how to build one. Every type of shelter, water for purification, birthing babies, tracheotomies. I
really want to perform a tracheotomy. Let me have that section of the book. I'll get my implements ready.
It's amazing. It's one of the cooler books I think I've ever seen. Boy, if it's not in there, you don't need to know it. If all these crazy, History Channel shows are correct, we're getting to the end of the Mayan calendar, and we're all gonna die. So, for those of us that don't die, you need a Doom handbook.
Okay, so maybe we should be offering the Doom handbook. Can we get more copies to sell or something?
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. One thing was a little disconcerting. It's very generously illustrated. Lots of how-to photographs or drawings and stuff. But the woman giving birth to the baby has a Playboy bunny tattoo. I found that a little disconcerting.
All right. Okay, so if the world is about to end, or you're going to be put in a position like you were, say, in the movie Star Trek First Contact. Obviously, there'd been some kind of world war, and only colonies of mankind were left. And this was, 2050. So I guess in 2050, we have to have lots of copies of this book. And we, of course, also have to allow the inventor of warp drive to complete his invention before the Borg gets him.
Right. Okay, Gene.
You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
Kind of. It sort of rings a bell.
Okay. This was one of the better Star Trek movies. And I guess it was showing what happens to humans, in the wake of some worldwide catastrophe. And there are so many movies like that. In the early part of the 21st century, everything falls apart.
Okay, and?
And we wonder, why do they feel they must do that?
Who, the producers that make these movies, or?
Sure, and writers who write the stories. And you have to think, is
we're-
that what they want to happen to our world?
Well, yeah, energy does follow thought. I mean, the way things are going. I mean, just look at the State of the Union address the other night, or the Republican primaries that are going on. I mean, this is enough to give anybody the feeling that we're in the end times and that the world doesn't have much longer to go on. Newt Gingrich as president? Oh my goodness, what is the world coming to?
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a political statement that comes from Christopher O'Brien. Unfortunately, I agree with him. So now all those who are in favor of Newt Gingrich for president are going to boycott the show.
Oh, good. Well,
so you see, we are used to getting ourselves in trouble, though. That's
I don't know, man. Give me any. I'd rather see Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck or somebody president than Newt Gingrich. That guy just gives me the creeps. I mean, he does. I mean, there's something wrong about the dude. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I guess we're going to see how it plays out, and we'll know. Yeah. Possibly, we'll know more by the time you folks hear this show. Let's skip the politics.
Doesn't he remind you of some newly discovered I don't know, sort of species of toad? I mean, the guy is so toad-like. There's something wrong about him. I expect a
lot of listeners are now going to be writing us about this or agree with us, depending on your point of view. We have a fascinating show today, and I think maybe we should segue from Newt to our two guests.
Well, I had a great time, finally getting up to Northern California and speaking to a MUFON group up there, and Ruben is the head of that group. Ruben Uriarte is a really interesting guy. I've been in touch with him on and off over the years, and really haven't had a chance to visit him and his his MUFON group up in San Jose. I was very, very pleased that they invited me to come up, and we did have a good time getting to know each other a little better. And I suggested that he and his co-author come on the show and talk about their new book, and he readily agreed to do that. So this is going to be fun. The case that they're going to be discussing, I think, at length, is one of the more, I think, enigmatic cases on record. I'm not that up to speed on the case. I haven't read the book, unfortunately, but I'm sure Ruben and his co-author, Noe, I think his name is, Noe Torres, are going to really give us the lowdown on this particular case, which I think Cor Lorenzen called it one of the better cases out there, and one of the more interesting cases. So this is going to be a lot of fun, and this will be Ruben's first trip here to the Paracast, and hopefully the first of many.
And one more thing, we are going to have some audio clips. Now, what are these audio clips? Are these interviews about the case?
I believe so, yes. I think they're interviewing, I'm not sure which clips he's bringing, but I think there may be interviews with family members that were involved in this particular case. I don't want to spill the beans on it too much here. I'm sure Ruben will do a good job of introducing them.
We had to engage in some sort of trickery here because normally we don't present audio clips. We did on one show, one or two shows. We presented audio clips, and the process is a little ungainly. But I decided, because this seemed to be the sort of show that warrants that kind of treatment.
Yeah, well, Gene, you're a tech wizard, so you can...
Of course I am. I resemble that remark, as a matter of fact. So I resemble a lot of things, and after your political comments of just a few moments ago, I don't know what I'm going to resemble. But...
I don't know. Well... Just the name Newt. It's just something wrong.
There used to be a song one of the shows played. It's just wrong. And I think it was probably Howard Stern used to do that.
Yeah.
He'd get into some really strange thing and he'd say, what's wrong? What's not wrong are two great guests coming up next on
The Paracast.
As you know, the Paracast is brought to you by Audible.com, the Internet's leading provider of audiobooks with more than 100,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, featuring audio versions of many New York Times bestsellers. For our listeners, Audible is offering a free audiobook to give you a chance to try out their service, such as Steve Jobs, the best-selling authorized biography from Walter Isaacson. For that free audiobook, go to audiblepodcast.com/Paracast. That's audiblepodcast.com/Paracast. You know, we develop trust in the people we know, but we don't really know someone we can see. That's why I recommend GoToMeeting with HD Faces. It's a simple online meeting service. It's GoToMeeting by Citrix. All it takes is a webcam and a click to instantly collaborate. You can start hosting your own face-to-face online meetings today with GoToMeeting. You can try it free for 30 days. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, and use the promo code PODCAST.
Are you wondering about your retirement portfolio? Are you confident that the financial advisor is experienced enough to combat climbing interest rates, taxes, and inflation? Stop guessing and go to the expert, Robert Chapman of the International Forecaster. When you subscribe to the International Forecaster, you get Robert Chapman's 45 years of experience and concise investment recommendations. Who needs sugar-coated excuses when you can get the cold hard facts and proven investment leads you can't get anywhere else? For a free introductory copy to Robert Chapman's International Forecaster, subscribe now at theinternationalforecaster.com or call 877-479-8178. Experience the difference. When you subscribe, you can email Robert Chapman directly to obtain investment advice tailored just for you. Don't wait another minute. Subscribe today at theinternationalforecaster.com or call 877-479-8178. That's 877-479-8178.
Has the United States been discovered in the Bible?
Where does Islam fit in Bible prophecy?
Is the New World Order world government?
These and other crucial end-time questions are answered in the new DVD package, Understanding the End Time, from End Time Ministries. Jesus Christ said, "I tell you these things before they come to pass, so that when they do come to pass, you might believe." After you watch this 14-lesson DVD series, Understanding the End Time, you'll know more about Bible prophecy than the average seminary graduate. This DVD package normally sells for $280, but now is only $199. Order Understanding the End Time DVD package at endtime.com today for only $199 or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. 1-800-363-8463 or endtime.com.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. If you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity and is safe for you and your family. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at BioAge.com, spelled BIOAGE.com, BioAge.com, or call 877-288-9116. That's 877-288-9116. BioAge, the age of advanced organics.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And if you'd like to catch up on past episodes, we have hundreds of shows for you to download, direct from theparacast.com. That's theparacast.com. Or check us out at iTunes.
We've got a pair of guests, new friends to the Paracast, joining us, Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte, is it?
Yes, very, very good.
Thank you. My son is very good at Spanish, so he's great at pronouncing these things, but he's in Spain, so he can't tell me how to do it. Now, the book is called Aliens in the Forest, the Cisco Grove UFO Encounter. Now, we're hitting a world here where, of course, everyone has been told that the case to die for is Roswell, except, of course, when you don't believe in Roswell. This case occurred some years back, hasn't gotten all the publicity that maybe it should have gotten. So either of you, Ruben or Noe, why don't you give us a brief backgrounder of the case, and as we progress, we'll listen to those interviews.
Noe, why don't you go ahead, and then I'll jump in on the more on the other items. Go ahead there, Noe.
This is one of the most remarkable UFO encounters from the 1960s, and Ruben and I have been in the field for quite some time, especially Ruben, much longer than I. And when he first sent me the materials that he had acquired, all the case files from this particular incident, he sent them to me with a note that this was and is one of the most amazing UFO cases that he has ever run into in his long experience in the field of doing UFO investigations. It occurred on September 4th, 1964 in Northern California, east of Sacramento, in a national forest known as the Tahoe National Forest. And in 1964, the world had been through a very remarkable UFO abduction case, the Betty and Barney Hill encounter of 1961 in New Hampshire. And, of course, most everybody had heard about this. And here was a case from 1964 that we're going to talk about tonight that shares a lot of characteristics with the Betty and Barney Hill case, as well as with two other very famous cases, the Pascagoula, Mississippi UFO abduction of Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker in 1973, and also the Travis Walton case, which also occurred in the 70s. In the case of Betty and Barney Hill, the case we're talking about tonight, the Cisco Grove UFO Encounter, and Pascagoula, all three were investigated by Dr. J. Allen Hynek and Dr. James Harder, two of the leading civilian UFO investigators of the early 60s and actually all the way through the 70s. And all three of them, J. Allen Hynek, James Harder, and Dr. Anita Brothers, who were involved in these investigations, thought that these three cases, much more than some of the others of that time period, really were highly significant, were highly credible, and had extremely believable testimonies from eyewitnesses. However, this particular case that we're talking about tonight did not get the media attention that Betty and Barney Hill, Pascagoula, and the Travis Walton case got. And there's actually quite an easy explanation for that, and that is that the principal witness in this case, Mr. Donald Shrum, at the time of the incident in 1964 was working for one of the nation's leading missile defense contractors, Aerojet Corporation of Sacramento. And he worked in their assembly plant where they assembled Titan missiles, Polaris missiles, and a wide range of missile systems and missile boosters that were in use at that time for the space program as well as for the defense of our country. So Mr. Shrum was very reluctant to have his identity revealed to the world as a UFO witness and near abductee, and he felt, and evidence and history have proven that he was very likely correct in thinking that if he came out with this and was too public about it, then his position with this leading missile defense contractor would definitely be in jeopardy. And as he has told Ruben and me, it was a time in his life when he could not afford to be without a job. So basically it came down to he didn't want to reveal his identity. So his name was never given. It's only been in the past couple of years when Ruben and I, primarily Ruben, made contact with the lead witness in this case, Mr. Donald Shrum, who at the time of this incident lived in the Sacramento area. It's only been in the past couple of years that Mr. Shrum finally has revealed, all the particulars of the case. He has agreed to have his identity and the identity of the two other men that went hunting with him that day when they encountered the UFOs and the ETs. He has finally agreed to make all of that public for the first time ever. And he chose, and we're very appreciative that he chose Ruben Uriarte and myself to tell this amazing story for the first time in its entirety in this new book called Aliens in the Forest that we're going to talk about tonight. So that kind of sets the stage for this story.
Okay, progressing from there. All right, we have the basic introduction about this particular case. Now, when you say, of course, that it's in the ballpark of Barney and Betty Hill and Pascagoula, we're talking, of course, as you say, about an abduction instance here, right?
This was what we classify as a near abduction.
Okay, so it's a near abduction. He wasn't actually taken aboard.
He actually fought his own personal war of the worlds that night, and in the end, he prevailed and was able to thwart this massive attempt that was being made to take him. And so it's an amazing story, and unlike a lot of others. You know, a lot of times we hear about abductees being taken fairly easily with a minimal amount of resistance, or they're not able to resist, or whatever attempts they make to resist are unsuccessful. In this case, as we'll hear tonight, and in his own words, because we have clips that Ruben made in interviewing the lead eyewitness, as we'll hear tonight, he resisted to the last ounce of his strength, always keeping in mind that if he let into the situation, he may not ever be returning home again. He actually won out. So that's why we call it a near abduction experience.
I might add that this is quite unusual for a case of this type to actually occur, because as most of the Paracast listening audience out there knows, most abductions are done, are enacted on people that have no control over the situation. This particular case is quite unique in that regard, where he did have recourse. He was not, his motor functions weren't frozen, that sort of thing. So why don't we start in on kind of setting the stage of these guys going on their hunting trip, and then give us an idea of exactly the chain of events that occurred.
Sure. And before we do that, let me remind our listeners once again, you will be hearing some of the interviews that our guests have made with the witnesses. So you get a sense, which is more than you normally get with a lot of these stories, of the people, the sincerity, and you can decide for yourself what you think about everything. Once again, the book from our guests on the Paracast this week, Ruben Uriarte and Noe Torres, is Aliens in the Forest, the Cisco Grove UFO Encounter. You'll learn more on the other side of
the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
When it comes to running a successful business, there are many things you have to get right. But one thing is often overlooked, and that's protecting the data that powers your business. Computers, servers, external hard drives, and even tape backups are vulnerable to failure. In the U.S. alone, over 140,000 hard drives fail each and every week. According to one study, only 7% of companies that lose their data centers for 10 days or more survive beyond the year. So I want to tell you about our friends at Mosey, the most trusted name in online backup. Give our friends at Mosey a call. They've been doing this for a long time and run the most secure, most trusted online backup service. Right now, you could save 15% by using the promo code PODCAST15. That's PODCAST15. Call 877-669-9776. That's 877-669-9776. Or visit mozypro.com. That's mozypro.com.
Did you know nuclear radiation is still spewing out of the melted down reactors in Fukushima, Japan, and making its way across the entire U.S. continent, contaminating the air, water, and food? Dangerously high levels of radiation are a reality here. As a result, radiation poisoning is a distinct possibility for anyone living in the U.S. unless you do something to protect yourself. How? With Liquid Zeolite from RestoreYourHealthNow.com. Without a doubt, Liquid Zeolite is by far the best product to remove radiation from your body. It safely removes toxins toxins and heavy metals, boosts energy levels, and promotes a strong immune system. Liquid zeolite is so powerful it was used to clean up contamination in Chernobyl, yet so gentle you won't even know you're taking it. Liquid zeolite comes with a money-back guarantee, but is only available at restoreyourhealthnow.com. Learn how to get free bottles of liquid zeolite by calling 800-880-9976. That's 800-880-9976. Or go to restoreyourhealthnow.com. That's restoreyourhealthnow.com.
Long-range patrol ration entrees. If you know survival, you know LRPs are the undisputed king of military rations. Hands down the best for your bug-out bag or survival pack. To go farther, faster, and carry more food, there's nothing better than a Brick Pack LRP cold weather ration entree. Nothing. Now, the Freeze Dry Guy is offering a limited-time deal on thousands of fresh LRP entrees. We're talking a menu of tasty and nutritious beef stew, chicken and rice, chili mac with beef, spaghetti and meat sauce with 20 entrees per case. These fresh 2011 LRPs are U.S. government contract overruns, perfect for long-term storage. But they're going fast at freezedryguy.com. Far superior to MREs, long-range patrol entrees are about a third the weight of an MRE, with about a third more meat than the finest commercial freeze-dried entrees. Ask about multi-case discounts and free shipping when you call 866-404-3663 today. That's 866-404-3663 or freezedryguy.com. Your source for survival food in an uncertain world. Emergency preparedness plans must include a fast way to start a fire. Fire up instantly with the revolutionary Quick Stove, a compact, lightweight, portable stove that's ready for cooking in less than 1 minute. Quick Stove, the safe, non-explosive fuel source that is an emergency preparedness essential. Quick Stove comes with 4 waterproof fuel cells that ignite in seconds, burn for up to 90 minutes each, can be lit and relit, and be stored indefinitely. At up to 18,000 BTUs, Quick Stove is ready to boil water in less than 5 minutes and burns hotter than most outdoor stoves. Now, the best part. Quick Stove starts at only $34.99 and comes with a 100% satisfaction or your money-back guarantee. Order today at quickstove.com or call 801-784-0225. That's 801-784-0225. Or go to quickstove.com. Click on the Discounts tab for multi-unit savings. Quick Stove, quite possibly the world's fastest outdoor fire.
Hi, this is Don Ecker, and you are tuned into the Paracast. Let me tell you what, you're going to hear stuff here that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Hear that, George Snorri?
We're learning about the Cisco Grove UFO Encounter with Ruben Uriarte and Noe Torres. As we progress, we will present some of that, I guess we'll call them eyewitness testimony, right, guys?
That's exactly right. Yes. Ruben has interviewed Mr. Shrum extensively, and we'll be listening to a very good recording of the interview that Ruben Uriarte did with Mr. Shrum recently in his home. And it's very clear. We can hear the sincerity and the depth of the experience as it was felt by Mr. Shrum that evening. So we're going to be right there with him in the forest, witnessing these things.
I just wanted to add, before we get right into it, just a little background is that this case was investigated by a principal investigator by the name of Mr. Paul Cerny, who was with NICAP at the time, and that was the National Investigation Committee on Aerial Phenomena. This is back in 1965, where he had received a request from Major Kehoe, who was heading the NICAP at the time, to conduct the investigation. Kehoe had received a letter from Don Shrum's wife and explaining this unusual event that had happened. Years later, the way I came across it was that I had a file of Paul Cerny's cases. Paul Cerny passed away almost 12 years ago, and in these files, which I'm a member of MUFON. I'm the director of Northern California MUFON, and Paul Cerny at that time was the previous director. Then he got promoted into a higher level position within MUFON. But when I acquired these files, and the thing that struck my mind was what was referred to as the bow and arrow case. And I looked at it and I said, my God, I got to meet this man someday. There, as Noe had mentioned, there's been some, not too much covered on it. There was some articles that have been written over the years, but nothing compared to the thoroughness and the accuracy that was given to us from Mr. Don Schrum. So we can move on and go ahead, Noe, and if you wouldn't mind continuing with the overview.
Yes, before you do that, Noe, I wanted to ask you one thing here. Okay, we know that Major Kehoe certainly gave publicity to a large number of cases in his various books, and this is at the time that NICAP was really, quite a popular organization. They had some business-related problems later on, but NICAP was the big thing then. APRO, yes. NICAP, the major organizations. But Kehoe didn't make a big deal of this?
Well, he did in the sense of initially sending Mr. Paul Cerny, who did a very, very thorough report, which is in our book. And the other aspect, again, was that Paul Cerny had to respect and protect Mr. Don Schrum and his anonymity. But like as I mentioned before, there were some articles, an overview that was written. The problem was that there were more additional articles that was written about this case based on the original article, and then in that information was changed, and so you never really got the complete picture. So tonight we hope to share with your audience through the interviews that we conducted with Don Schrum, some of the remarkable things that happened and the extraordinary battle that he had back in 1964.
And this is one of the things you see in these abduction cases. The people seem to take it. They accept it. And this is so opposite that, obviously.
This man uses wits. He uses resources. The guy, he amazed me up to this day. When I listened to his whole entire story, I was just totally at awe. And so when I had sent the documents to Noe, and both Noe and I started to discuss this case, and then conversing more with Don Schrum, we were just totally at awe and totally blown away by what this man had to encounter. And until up till today, he's still. There are some ramifications based on this experience that it's still going through some very tough times.
Psychological, you say?
More. When we get more into it, post-traumatic symptoms.
Sure.
He had a number of nightmares, but what he really wanted was he wanted to get this story out to the public and about this particular story that he had encountered. And who knows? I mean, there might be other stories very similar that we're not aware of that has never gotten the publicity, or other researchers haven't had a chance to really get into. Maybe something similar, but like Noe had mentioned, there are similarities between some of these other major cases that were very, very focused back in Betty and Barney Hill, and as Noe had mentioned, the Pascagoula alien abduction cases.
Okay, where should we progress here? Would you like to start playing one of these interviews so we can get a sense of what this gentleman is like?
Yeah, I'm going to set the stage for the first clip. And
now what I want you to do is give me the name of the clip so I know which one to choose.
Yeah, we're going to be going to the appearance of the mothership, which kind of initiated the whole thing here in a couple moments. I want to lead up to that by talking about what they were doing at the time and so forth. So this was September 4th, 1964, and it was a Friday. And all three men that went out hunting that day, all three of them worked at Aerojet Corporation of Sacramento, as I had mentioned previously. And Mr. Schrum, who was the principal eyewitness in this case, who was 26 years old at the time, he's now in his middle 70s. He worked as a welder and a painter for Aerojet, and at the time of this incident, he was working on the Polaris missiles, the Titans, and the Hawk surface-to-surface missiles. And he has told us that he distinctly remembers, what it was like at that time to be doing all that. And the other two hunters that went with him were also working at the same factory there in Sacramento. So they had a long weekend. They decided they had been out hunting before, but not exactly in the same area. So they decided to go out to the Tahoe National Forest, which is east of Sacramento, close to the border with Nevada. And so the hunters took what was then known as Route 40 to the east. It's now roughly corresponds to Interstate Highway 80. And they made camp down in an area near Cisco Grove, California, which is in the Tahoe National Forest. And there's a place there called the Loch Levin Lakes. And it was near one of those small lakes that they set up camp early in the day on Friday. And then they walked around, and I don't think I mentioned earlier that this was a bow hunting expedition because it wasn't rifle season yet. The men had been out. They had been out previously hunting both with using rifles as well as bow and arrows. So this particular case, before the start of the rifle season, they went out with their bow and arrows, and they were looking primarily for deer. So they spent the day on Friday looking around and not able to find much in the way of, game. And so it was getting near dark. Mr. Shrum found himself on one side of a ravine, and one of the other hunters was on the opposite side of the ravine from him. And then the third hunter was down below in the canyon or the base of the ravine. And they were all moving parallel to each other. They had no communication equipment. They had been trying to remain roughly within earshot of each other. But what happened is Mr. Shrum thought that when he got to the end of the ravine, that there would be a way that he could cross over and rejoin his buddy on the other side of the ravine. But when he got to the end of it, there was no way to do that, and he found that he had to back up and go back the way he had come. Well, by that time it was considerably dark, and would be dark very, very shortly, and he was concerned for his safety, as hunters often do when they're faced with a situation that they're out at night in an area that's unfamiliar, and there are predators in the area. There had been reports of bears.
I'll tell you what, you're phrasing a frightening scenario here that we want to hear more about. The book is Aliens in the Forest. We're talking about the story involving Donald Shrum, Noe Torres, and Ruben Uriarte. Join us with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Are you ready to order the official Paracast t-shirt? You asked, we answered. We're now taking orders for the official Paracast t-shirt. It comes in white, 100% cotton. The front of it features the same logo that we have on our community forums. On the back it says, separating signal from noise. To order the official Paracast t-shirt, here's all you have to do. Visit our new online store at store.theparacast.com. One more time, that's store.theparacast.com. You can use a major credit card to place your order for the official Paracast t-shirt. Hey neighbors, we have one more thing to talk about, and that's more merchandise at the official Paracast store. We have hats, we have jackets, we even have a flip video camcorder customized with the Paracast logo at the official Paracast store. It's all now available at the official Paracast store, store.theparacast.com.
Did you know that how well your brain works is directly dependent upon how well your gut works? Did you know that an inflamed or compromised digestive system directly contributes to poor focus, depression, irritability, attention deficit, and hyperactivity? By eliminating the inflammation in your intestines and by having good bacteria populations, you may enjoy better brain function. The most important protein your body needs to keep inflammation down is glutathione. The number one food to support a dramatic increase in glutathione production is undamaged whey protein from grass-fed cows. Virtually all whey proteins are damaged by heat, filtration, and chemicals, except one. One World Whey is the most life-giving whey protein on the market. It is changing the lives of its users in very positive ways. One World Whey may act as one of the most important health foods to support your and your child's optimal brain function. Call 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Or visit oneworldwhey.com. That's oneworldwhey.com.
Did you ever think you'd be where you are a decade into the 21st century? Record foreclosure rates for homes, if not yours, your neighbors. Thankful for the unemployment check since you were laid off. And placing your child's name on the angel tree in hopes of a Christmas gift, along with thousands of other Americans. Did you ever think your future would feel this out of control? The fact is, in all this craziness, there's only one thing you can control. your greatest dependency, your food supply. Make 2012 the year you take control by getting prepared. eFoods Direct introduces the best way to build your food supply in the 21st century. Get a 21-day supply of food free with purchase. Call 800-409-5633 or go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex. Take back control in 2012. Call 800-409-5633 or go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex. Remember, you can bet your life on eFoods Direct.
Ready to save while getting prepared? Then you're ready for the winter sale at 21stcenturygoods.com. Take advantage of the incredible savings on all items at 21stcenturygoods.com. Portable AM, FM, and shortwave radios from $19.95. American Red Cross emergency radios and Cato radios from $28.95. Solar lanterns from $22.95. Solar flashlights, 2 for $16.95. Hand crank LED hurricane lanterns and flashlights from $8.95. Be sure to check out the flexible solar panels to power your emergency and survival gear. Every order over $75 will receive a solar-powered flashlight absolutely free. So get prepared this winter by visiting 21stcenturygoods.com. Spelled the number 2, the number 1, ST, centurygoods.com. 21stcenturygoods.com or call 866-999-8422. That's 866-999-8422. 21stcenturygoods.com. Power up your survival.
I hope that you do listen to the Paracast because you will learn a great deal about the paranormal.
With Gene and Chris in the Paracast, we're talking about a new book, Aliens in the Forest, the Cisco Grove UFO Encounter, from September 4th of 1964, just 5 days before my birthday. I was 492 years old then, with Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte. Let's continue with this story. Who wants to pick it up?
Yes, continuing on then, we were talking about Mr. Shrum and 2 of his buddies from work, from the Aerojet Corporation, were out in the Tahoe National Forest when it started getting dark. They became separated from each other, and as hunters often do, they try to find a safe haven for the night because, you know, there are predators to take into consideration. There were bear sighted in the area as well as other predators, and also Mr. Shrum and the hunters were basically unfamiliar with the terrain there, so you've got ravines, you've got, you know, it'd be real easy to hurt yourself, twist an ankle, fall down a ravine. So he was thinking of a place that he could, you know, spend the night in a safe place and then rejoin the other 2 men that he had gotten separated from at a later point. So one of the things that he decided to do was there was no other obvious haven that he could spend the night in, like a cave or anything like that. So he decided to go up in a tree, and it was a pine tree. He had on his person, around his waist, he had a military-style belt that he could unfasten and loop around one of the larger branches up in the tree and thereby secure his position up there for spending the night. And that way he would be safe from most predators and any dangers, and he could just wait it out for a few hours until it got light again and then try to rejoin his companions. So that's what he determined to do. This is not unusual for hunters to do this. Well, he was up in that tree when he saw a light off in the distance to the north of his position, and he thought at first that it might be a helicopter that had been sent to rescue him by his 2 fellow hunters who obviously had discovered that he had gotten himself lost for the night, and they might have gone to the local park ranger, the forest ranger station, and maybe called for help, and then a helicopter was sent. This was what was running through Mr. Shrum's mind. As we will hear in this first clip, the appearance of the mothership, it turned out to not be a rescue helicopter, but something else altogether.
And then I saw a light. It looked like a lantern going up and down a trail, but then it came over the top of a tree, and I got kind of excited then because I thought it was a helicopter from the Forest Service. And I stood between 2 of the fires that I built on the rocks, and waved my arms and yelled and screamed, and finally that light started coming towards me. So I was really relieved then, because I thought it was a helicopter still, until it got within, maybe 60 feet or yards. I'm not sure the distance at night. But it just hovered there with no sound. So then I panicked, because I knew it was no helicopter. I thought it was something from outer space. But it looked like all I could see is about an 8-inch glow. So I thought it was just a little tiny, flying saucer. And then I kind of panicked, and I threw my bow up in the tree again, and hand walked out there, that limb, and got up in the tree. And I had all camouflage clothing on, so I figured, well, they won't see me here, But then this light went a half circle around me over the canyon. Then I could see the shadow of the whole spacecraft, and that was just a light that was on the nose of it.
So what he first thought was just a small little bright light. Actually, he realized that was just a small light that was on a much larger ship. And he later described it to us, and when he underwent regressive hypnotherapy later, it became even more focused, that this was an extremely large object. It was approximately 150 feet from stern to bow. And so, in other words, it was the equivalent of a 14-story building. And it was cigar-shaped and had a very dark hull. And I believe Ruben had some additional comments on it. Ruben, did you want to?
Go ahead, Noe. When we get toward the scout ship, which we'll get right into.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask one question, quick question. Okay, because just a quick alarm bell sort of rang, and this is the thing, of course, that some of the skeptics will raise, and let's get it out of the way. He recalled some details through hypnosis, or is everything basically physically remembered, and then hypnosis maybe just helped him a little bit?
That's a very good point, and we need to say that all of the details of the case that were presented tonight were mainly taken from Paul Cerny's interview with Mr. Shrum just a few months after the incident happened. There was no hypnotherapy done until many years later, and when hypnosis was finally used, what it did was it just confirmed all the details that had been given in previous interviews, and then just gave a couple of small additional details.
Okay, one more question. When were these recordings made?
The recordings that we're listening to tonight, Ruben made recently. Go ahead.
Yes. Actually, this goes back in 2005. I had the privilege to stay with the Shrums. They invited me over to their home as a guest, and I spent several days with them. And what I had with me were a number of the materials and documents that are now in our book that was put together by Mr. Paul Cerny, again back in the early 65 through 67 and some other periods, because he kept working with Mr. Shrum on this case. We were real fortunate, Gene and Chris, to have not only the documents, but we actually had the actual transcription of the interview. And so that helped me quite a bit. Then when I met with Don Shrum, we were fortunate that his son also videotaped the entire interview. So I had basically the same kind of questions that Paul used almost 40, 50 years ago, but I also had some different questions. And what I was totally amazed is that this man never changed his story. He was right on as it happened back 50 years ago. So you'll see in the detail in his description as we continue with the other audio clips.
Okay, so this is a very important point to mention, that it's not just somebody recalling 50 years later, oh, I saw a UFO. It is somebody who's lived with this for a great part of his adult life.
Yes.
Right, and I'm really intrigued by, the aspect of the interviews, bringing out information that doesn't seem to or appear to change over all these years. Many cases that come down the pike in the last couple 3 decades, the initial story tends to have legs, and it grows, and more details are added on, becomes more sophisticated, more details are brought out. I could name some names of particular cases, but I won't. That's one of the things about this case that makes it, as a field investigator, very compelling, because it's rock solid from beginning to end. You don't have that case getting legs and growing details, which I think is really does add to the credibility factor.
Yes, Chris, and just to add real quickly, too, the thing that really also amazed me is, and you probably can relate to this, both Noe as well, and Gene, when you work with people, you study their body language. And the thing that really amazed me with Don was the fact that as he was describing his situation, you could tell he was still very bothered. He was going back into time, and I was seeing him shake. I could see the pauses that he was going through, and I was just looking through this man's eyes, and I just said, whatever he encountered back in '64. It obviously shook him up.
The book is called Aliens in the Forest. It's the case of Donald Trump. We'll be hearing more of the interviews with him from Ruben Uriarte and Noe Torres. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
Hi, Ted Anderson announcing a great way to listen to radio on the telephone. By calling 760-569-7700, you'll be hearing GCNlive.com programs in seconds. Come to GCNlive.com, find your favorite host's dedicated phone number, and hear them 24/7. You heard me right. Every show has a dedicated phone number. Stop by GCNlive.com and bookmark their number today. And again, that's 760-569-7700. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
We're talking about a new book discussing the amazing encounter described by Donald Trump back in 1964 in the book Aliens in the Forest, the Cisco Grove UFO Encounter, by Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte, with Gene and Chris in the Paracast. Ruben, Noe, who wants to pick up the description as we progress into the description of this case?
Okay, I'll pick it up here. Thank you. We were in the forest with Don Shrum. He saw this light coming toward him, thought it was a helicopter at first, but then when he heard absolutely no sound at all, and then as it got really close to him, and he realized that it was not a helicopter, scrambled back up into the tree, and as it came around close and hovered over a ravine close to where this pine tree that Mr. Shrum had climbed up into was, then he saw that it was this immense 150-foot object, cigar-shaped object with a very dark hull, and right at the center of the hull there appeared suddenly, as if they winked into existence, 3 lighted rectangular panels, and out of the center of those three panels, side by side, vertically spaced, equally spaced on the side of this ship, out of the middle one of those lighted panels, suddenly a smaller ship, described as a dark object in this next clip we're going to hear in a minute, came out of that center panel, dropped down a ways down into the ravine, and then zoomed horizontally over closer to where Mr. Shrum was, where it landed. So we're going to hear that in this next clip, which is called The Smaller Ship Appears.
And then I saw three panels of light, like windows or whatever, and I saw a flash come from the bottom of the center one, and just saw a dark object go down in the canyon, and then I lost track of it. And then the next thing I saw a little blinking light up on the top of originally where the first one came from.
This object that you first saw that left the center panel, what did it look like, Don?
Well, at that time, all I saw was a flash and saw a dark object go down.
The dark object, what shape was it?
Well, I couldn't really say. It went so fast. But then I saw when it landed up on the ridge that it I could see like a half. I could only see part of the top, but it had a little light on it, and looked like the top of a flying saucer that I'd seen in pictures.
Like a dome? Or
yes. Yeah, like a dome. And then I kept my eyes on that.
And the one thing I wanted to ask here is, obviously he was familiar with some of the literature here about flying saucers and such before he had his encounter.
Mr. Shrum told us that he had very little interest in UFOs. He had only read a few occasional articles when they appeared in the paper or in magazines that they ran across, but he basically he didn't consider himself to be a skeptic, and he didn't consider himself to be a believer. He just was not interested in it. It wasn't relevant to his life, and so he didn't really ever pay much attention to it until, as many eyewitnesses tell us, until they come face to face with it themselves and experience it right before their eyes. It's very hard for them to believe one way or another.
The other thing I just wanted to add is that over the last 50 years that this case had evolved, the Shrums, they wanted answers, and they collected tons of material, articles from different researchers. So when I met with them, I was amazed with the amount of materials that they had collected over the years. But then it just made me realize that they really wanted to get to the bottom line of what happened to him, and who were these beings, or who were these people that came from another world, and why were they there, and why did they pick on Don? So that has a lot to do with it. They were slowly trying to do their own research, and then we combined our documents. I shared with him what I had from Mr. Paul Cerny, and then at the same time they shared and provided both Noe and I with the documents that they had. So that has a lot to do with perhaps why he's more familiar with the phrases.
Now, the one thing I'm going to pose here, another one of those questions, and that is, at no time did he ever think that maybe he was having some kind of hallucination?
No, never. He had the hard physical evidence and plus he was conscious throughout.
Well, hard physical evidence, yeah, we have to get into that, yes.
Yeah, well, you'll hear about, we can get into it with the audios, but the hard physical evidence is basically what he did to protect himself. And the day after, when he woke up, he was looking for the items that he actually had thrown at these ETs. So I'm kind of jumping ahead, but we'll catch up with the audios.
All right, let's just take it to the next stage. What happened next?
So this smaller ship came out of the larger ship.
Right.
And then it apparently landed nearby. And Mr. Shrum was up in the tree hoping that all of this action would kind of pass by him and he would be an observer only. But unfortunately, that wasn't what actually happened. And within a few moments after the smaller ship landed nearby, he heard a rustling in the surrounding brush. And this was the arrival of the humanoids, as we're going to hear in this next audio clip.
And I heard some thrashing through the brush, and probably 5-10 minutes, these two humanoids come out of the brush, and they kind of broke some of the brush off, and was looking at it. And then they came straight underneath the tree and looked up at me, and I knew right then I was fingered.
They found you.
Yeah, they found me.
Can you describe them for us? That was briefly what they
Yeah, they looked like 4 to 5 feet. Of course, I'm looking down at them, so they'd be shorter than they probably are. And they had a silvery, like a one-piece suit on, and it seemed like it had the joints, puffy joints, on the shoulders and the elbows, and the legs I didn't see that clear.
The humanoids, were you able to see their faces?
No, it was just a kind of a dark shadow. I could see the two like eyes that were looked like welding goggles to me. They're the same as welding goggles. And then the rest of the face was kind of a blur. I couldn't see looking down at them.
You're able to see then was it large or small? They're
about 2 inches in diameter. It reminded me, just like I said, like a welding goggles.
All right. So he sees them. They look real. They look physical. What can you say?
Very interesting observations Mr. Shrum made about these beings. He estimated that there could have been perhaps as many as 6 of these humanoid beings. See, one of the unusual things about this case is that, a lot of UFO events happen within a fairly short time frame. Of course, we think of like the Travis Walton abduction, which occurred over a 5-day span, and
this seemed to drag itself out a little bit.
But this one here was 12 hours long.
The witness is Donald Shrum, whom you've heard. You've heard the actual audio clips. The book is Aliens in the Forest from Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com.
You expect professional service from your doctor, your accountant, and even the girl who takes your morning coffee order. Why not from your domain registrar, too? Namecheap.com provides stellar service with no sneaky upselling. We offer more features and security options for your website than there are ways to order a latte. And new domains come with WhoisGuard to protect your personal info. At Namecheap.com, you can get your domain for as low as $2.99. Now is a great time to get to know Namecheap.com.
Hi, Mike Penz with Midas Resources Incorporated, Senior Monetary Specialist. With foreign countries going bankrupt and states within the United States going bankrupt, not to mention all the Ponzi schemes in the marketplace, do you think your money and investments are safe? Of course not. Call me, Mike Penz, 1-800-686-2237, extension 181. I can help answer any questions you have about protecting your money, whether it be personal possession or holding precious metals in an IRA. Gold carries a 6,000-year history that is the only real and lasting money in the world. Paper currencies have come and gone. Governments have toppled. The world map has changed many times, and yet gold still thrives in almost every country. Gold is the ultimate store of wealth. Central banks continue to maintain reserves of gold. Common sense begs the question, why? Let me help you answer that question. Call me, Mike Pence, 1-800-686-2237, extension 181. Call now and I will send you free information on precious metals. Call Mike Pence, 1-800-686-2237, extension 181.
What if pain could be reduced, ailments could be alleviated, physical and mental stress could be eased, and blood circulation increased, all by simply lying down? Introducing the original Biomat. The Biomat is an FDA-registered medical device that combines deep-penetrating infrared space-age technology and revitalizing negative ions with the incredible healing power of amethyst crystals. A Biomat can boost your immune system, relieve pain and stiffness, reduce stress and fatigue, and assists in detoxifying your body. Join the thousands of people reporting relief from chronic pain, fibromyalgia, arthritis, sports injuries, insomnia, and much more. Each Biomat comes with a lifetime trade-in and 3-year warranty. Learn more at bio-mats.com, spelled bio-mats.com, or call 360-944-8692. That's 360-944-8692. Visit bio-mats.com today and enhance your life with a Biomat.
Have you ever seen a U.S. postage stamp featuring Abraham Lincoln, Ben Franklin, or George Washington? If you're into stamp collecting, you know it's a fun, affordable hobby. America's leading stamp dealer is the Mystic Stamp Company, and they want you to have their free 140-page color catalog. Go to MysticStampAd.com, the website of the Mystic Stamp Company. Serving stamp collectors since 1923, Mystic Stamp is well known in the industry for its experience, superior customer service, and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Go to MysticStampAd.com to request your free 140-page U.S. stamp color catalog, packed with collecting tips, special offers, color photos, and over 4,600 available stamps. Call 800-433-7811 or go to MysticStampAd.com. That's 800-433-7811 and ask for your free U.S. stamp catalog or MysticStampAd.com. Mystic Stamp Company, America's leading stamp dealer.
Hi, this is Ted Phillips, listening to the Paracast, and it's as good as it gets, believe me.
We're talking with Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte. You're with Gene and Chris in the Paracast, and we've been hearing the story involving Donald Trump in September of 1964, described in the book Aliens in the Forest. He faces, from the tree, 6 humanoid beings, right?
Yes, only 2 appear at first, but later as the encounter went on over a span of about 12 hours, he saw, he thinks, as many as 6 of them, around the area of the base of the tree. So he was hoping at this point, that he might be able to go by unnoticed, but when the initial 2 humanoids that broke out of the brush and came right up to the base of the tree, when they looked up at him, and then at that point he knew that he had been seen. Some interesting observations he made about them is that in addition to, finding him and locating his presence there and looking up at him, but before they did that, they were going around apparently looking at all the surrounding vegetation, breaking little bits off. He got the impression that they were conducting some sort of surveillance or research in that area.
It almost begins to sound a bit like E.T., where they're taking soil samples and plants and everything like that.
Right, except it turned out that they weren't the kind that just wanted to phone home. They apparently wanted to take a few things with them when they went home, including Mr.
I have
Trump.
a question here, Noe. At this point now, you had mentioned that he had built a fire. Now, to your recollection of the account, was that fire still glowing? Was there any evidence of heat that may have been present there near the tree? In other words, how did they vector in on that spot? I'm just curious. I was wondering if the fire was still going.
Yeah, very interesting question. And actually, the fires that he set actually play into the overall happenings on this evening. He had set 3 small signal fires atop some flat boulders that were around the base of the tree. And he did that in order to signal the object that he thought was a rescue helicopter coming for him. So he set these 3 small fires. He always carried, when he went hunting, he carried lots of matches, and he gathered together brush and set these 3 small fires. By the time the humanoids arrived, the 3 small signal fires had kind of died down to where there was just a little bit of embers, a little glowing and a little bit of smoke.
Right, but it was more than enough to vector them into his location.
Apparently so, because when the object started moving in this direction, it came very quickly. It hovered nearby, and then, of course, the small ship came out, and then the beings appeared a few moments later. So that apparently gave up his position to them. But at this point, it didn't appear that the humanoid beings were taking any sort of aggressive action toward him. They had acknowledged his presence in the tree, but he seemed to be okay, and he thought that maybe he would be okay. But unfortunately, there was an entirely different type of being that appeared on the scene next, which was a lot more menacing and ended up being the cause of a lot of grief for him during this 12-hour encounter. And we're going to listen to that in the clip called "The Robot Arrives."
And then I saw 2 flashing red-orange light eyes just picking its way down the ridge, just between the rocks and around them and everything, and come down and was on this big boulder, this big flat rock, and then he kind of looked up at me, and he moved his hand in this through the fires, cinders, and kind of scattered them.
And the eyes of this other creature, like the robot, what did that look like to you?
It had kind of like fire. It's kind of a orangish, reddish orange, or yellowish orange, and it kind of flickered like fire. And they're about the same diameter as, about 2 inches in diameter as the humanoids.
Of course, when you say robot, I think of Dave the Earth Stood Still, and I say, okay, Gort showed up.
One of the interesting things in his description is he's not entirely certain that it was a mechanical being at all.
Sure.
He was just giving his impression, his overall impression of the manner in which the creature walked. It could have been a bulky suit. It could have been the same type of being as the humanoids. Certainly, it was roughly the same height and the same general appearance. The eyes were very similar. So we don't know exactly, what it was, but a lot of, and Ruben can attest to this, there are many, many cases in UFO investigation history where the beings seen at UFO encounter sites are described as appearing mechanical or appearing robotic. Isn't that right, Ruben?
Yes. The thing that we were really, again, this was another part of the whole encounter, was he was dealing with another type of being. And when we got into the research, we found other UFO cases that refer to robot-like creatures. So we added that into the book. So as Noe had mentioned, that it was this particular being that really made it very, very rough for Mr. Don Schrum.
I would think after this, what's going to happen next? It's like the hits keep on coming.
It doesn't end. It just keeps on coming there. So I'll let if Noe could continue with the next phase of it.
Yeah, the amazing thing was that, Mr. Schrum had faced up to the humanoids, and they didn't seem to be bothering him too much. They seemed to be mainly looking around. But then this creature, this strange creature, that to him gave him the impression that it was more menacing or threatening to him, came right up to the base of the tree. And, the signal fires that we mentioned previously that he had set atop of the boulders, this mechanical-looking creature kind of swept those off with one of its hands. And then it came right up under him within 6 or 7 feet of where he was up in his perch up in the tree, the pine tree. And all of a sudden it did something extremely unusual.
Yeah. We'll have to switch to our next segment in a moment. So I kind of know what's coming because I can see the title of the clip. So I'm going to withhold it from you listeners. You're going to say, what is Gene doing? He's crazy. He's not telling us what's going to happen. I will tell you that the book is called Aliens in the Forest, the Cisco Grove UFO Encounter. You get it from Amazon. It's also available as a Kindle edition. So if you can't wait to see a physical book, you can download the book and play it on your Kindle or Kindle app. That makes it a good way, I suppose, to get instant gratification. The authors are Noe Torres, Ruben Uriarte. You're with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Ray Perkins, a reclusive veteran burned out from the Gulf War, lives tortured by relentless, perplexing nightmares. Nightmares of a horrific battle in deep space and of a mysterious woman suffering in agony for her devastated world. A woman not yet born, calling across centuries to him. Then, a coincidence leads him to his destiny, his chance to alter the universe. Attack of the Rockoids. The former fiction editor for Star Wars and Indiana Jones, Robert Simpson, writes, "The soul of the novel Attack of the Rockoids lies in its heart and passion for building a convincing tale of a love that spans the galaxy, a thrilling story. Attack of the Rockoids is available now. Read a sample chapter and get a special discount off of the cover price at our website, rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com. Attack of the Rockoids, a novel in the grand science fiction tradition."
Don't answer it!
If fear strikes your heart when the phone rings, knowing it may be another bill collector, it's time for you to call Zero Debt in 90 Days. 800-477-9256. Settlements, bankruptcy, and attorneys are not the answer and may end up costing you up to 10 times more than necessary. Listen, if you're already in debt, does it make sense to get buried in another payment plan? Zero Debt in 90 Days gets you out of debt in 90 days guaranteed, without a payment plan and without attorneys or going to court. Get the fastest relief from debt on the planet when you call 800-477-9256. If you have debt with the IRS, credit cards, student loans, or a foreclosure, we can help at Zero Debt in 90 Days, and we are the only organization to provide written guarantees on the results. Go to ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com. That's ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com. Or call now for free information. 800-477-9256. That's 800-477-9256. How would you like to have normal blood pressure?
This is Ernesto from Illinois. I had my doctor's appointment yesterday, and I got my labs in. My HDL is 119L, and my LDL is 37L. My doctor asked what I was doing to lower it so much, so I told her about HB Extract.
Millions of people like Ernesto are suffering from high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, unbalanced cholesterol, irregular heartbeat, and clogged arteries. But now there's an effective, natural, 100% organic nutritional supplement for a healthy heart and circulation. Heart and Body Extract.
My blood pressure has not gone past 125/80 in almost a month.
Experience amazing benefits when your body gets what it needs with the assistance of Heart and Body Extract.
She did a double take when she looked at my ER labs. She couldn't believe it.
Order at hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305. That's hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305.
Thank you. Heart and Body Extract.
That's what it sounds like when a burglar kicks in the door of a dark house that looks like no one is home. Don't let your home be the next target. Make it look like someone is home watching television with fake TV. Fake TV is a small electronic device that makes the same light as a real television, so from outside it looks like someone is home watching TV. Fake TV plugs in just like a lamp on a timer, but is far more convincing to burglars. Fake TV deters burglars, costs far less than an alarm, and is highly recommended by numerous police departments. Use it anytime you're away from home. To order your Fake TV for only $34.95, go to faketv.com. or call 1-877-5-FAKE-TV. Each additional Fake TV is only $29.95, so get one for you and one for a loved one for safety, security, and peace of mind for both of you. Call 877-5-FAKE-TV or go to faketv.com. faketv.com, the burglar deterrent.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And if you'd like to catch up on past episodes, we have hundreds of shows for you to download direct from theparacast.com. That's theparacast.com. Or check us out at iTunes.
This is something, I'll tell you, if I saw something like this, if I was in the forest and I was being accosted or being terrorized by apparent alien beings as Donald Trump did, I'd be scared out of my wits. I couldn't tell you what I'd be doing. But I want to get out of there as quickly as possible. Find some way that I can leave tall buildings in a single bound or something. We have Noe Torres, Ruben Uriarte with us. The book is Aliens in the Forest. And you guys were about to introduce another audio segment. Should we let that play? Because that says so much.
Yes, let's hear that.
Then he come down up on the rock. He was about 7 feet from me. And then he touched his mouth, and the kind of a steam vapor come out of his mouth, and it lit up his face so I could see some detail. And then I blacked out when that steam hit me, or I guess it was kind of took the air from me, and I'd gasp for air and then black out, and I fell over my bow. And that's the only thing that kept me in the tree. And then so I figured they were out to get me then.
Oh man Are there other cases, guys, where the creature, the robot, whatever it is, would present this kind of gaseous effect?
Actually, there have been a few cases that Ruben and I looked at, and interestingly enough, we've talked about the Travis Walton abduction, which happened in the 70s, and Travis Walton reported that at one point he had been taken aboard what apparently was a UFO, and he had been held there for 5 days, and near the end of his encounter, and interestingly enough, there were also two distinctly different types of beings that he saw aboard that ship. There was a humanoid form, and then there was a smaller, something close to what we might consider to be a gray, but didn't quite look the same in terms of its facial features. But anyway, near the end of the encounter, Travis Walton said that one of the humanoids moved something, some kind of strange object up to his face, and then this vapor came out, causing him to black out. And then he found, the next thing he knew, he was lying on the street back on Earth. You know, the encounter was over. So, and Ruben, do you have any additional cases that you ran across regarding vapor that's used?
I believe there was that other case. There were several that we were looking at in Argentina, where a woman had confronted a robot-like creature, and it was also where she also had felt the effects of it almost knocking her out. We actually have a number of other cases that we have described in it. But I mean, it's just amazing how we come across a case that has everything. I mean, the humanoids, and then the robot creature, and then without jumping ahead, there'll be more encounters with this robot type being.
Well, the thing I notice, just in the part that you've told us so far, is that it's not a one-off so far. In other words, parts of this case can be found in other cases as you separate the various elements.
Yeah, exactly. You can go all the way back into the late 1800s. There were a couple of Spring-Heeled Jack sightings that featured Spring-Heeled Jack ejecting some sort of vapor into very startled witnesses' direction.
Okay, so he's gassed by this robotic-type creature.
Right. We are thinking that, I mean, it's fairly evident, and Mr. Shrum describes it this way himself, that this must have been an asphyxiant gas. The most common asphyxiants that we know of today are nitrogen, argon, and helium. So what these do is they're not toxic in and of themselves. In other words, they don't necessarily damage human tissue. However, they still can be damaging or lethal because of the fact that they essentially eliminate all the oxygen from the surrounding air and could actually lead to suffocation. However, in the case, in the small amounts that were being dispelled by this mechanical-like being up at Mr. Shrum in the tree, because the amount was apparently quite small and affected just a limited area, he would only black out for a very short period of time, possibly a couple of moments, minutes. He wasn't exactly sure of how long he was out.
Evidently then to try to subdue him so they could possibly take him with them?
Well, yes, as we're going to hear about shortly, what happened is that the robot creature would emit this gas and cause him to black out, and then the humanoids would attempt to climb the tree. But Mr. Shrum would always awaken from his stupor while the humanoids were in the process of attempting to climb the tree and reach him, and then he would do something to hamper their efforts. He would shake the tree, he would kick at them, he would be okay. But this was a repetitive process that occurred for hours, where he would be constantly under attack from this robot, issuing vapor at him, and then the humanoids attempting to climb. So early on in this encounter, right after the first gassing, in fact, he decided that if he was going to survive this night and see his young bride and their one-year-old daughter ever again, he was going to have to take the offensive and start doing something to help his situation. And so, as we're going to hear in the next clip, the only offensive weapon that he had with him was his bow and 3 arrows from his earlier hunting experience. So he decided to use the bow and arrows against this robot creature, as we'll hear in this next clip called "Shooting His Arrows."
So I had a 60-pound bow, which is a very high velocity, and I shot. Seeing as how the robot is the only thing that was causing me harm, I shot the chest area, and it has the velocity of a rifle at that distance, because I'm only about 7-8 feet from him. And when I hit the chest, the sparks would fly like like an arc welder kind of. And then that robot backed up and almost knocked him down. He kind of fell back against the rock, and the two at the bottom took off and headed for the brush and stood out there about 30 feet from me. And then I shot 2 more arrows, and it was about the same time sequence that these 2 humanoids would, every time I'd shoot, they'd go back up into the brush, just almost out of sight from me.
Curious, noticing in this particular description how low-tech these aliens appear to be. I mean, other than the robot emitting some kind of gas to subdue him, they didn't have a ray gun. They didn't point their phasers at him and stun him. You kind of wonder about this. It is very strange. I think we want to discuss that more. And as we progress here, we don't have, unless we move it up a little faster, we may not be able to hear all the audio clips. So let's see if we could move up the description. We have Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte. We're talking about the case of Donald Trump and his encounter with some aliens who wanted to take him on a trip, and he didn't want to go. The book is Aliens in the Forest. You're on with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. Lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
Do you suffer from low-functioning adrenal or thyroid? Did you know that mercury from your dental fillings comes off of your teeth both as a vapor and as particles into your body? Wherever mercury deposits in your body, it stops cells from functioning normally. Animal studies show that mercury causes kidney function to drop by 60%. Mercury deposited into your adrenals or thyroid will cause a corresponding drop in function. The number one method by which your body detoxifies itself of mercury is glutathione. The number one superfood that helps turn on all 10 trillion cells of your body to produce glutathione is non-denatured whey protein from grass-fed cows. After investigating most high-end whey proteins on the market, only one is the most non-denatured, the most active, the most complete, and in our opinion, the most powerful in what nature originally put into the fresh raw whey. It is One World Whey. Call 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Or visit oneworldwhey.com. That's oneworld.com.
Iodine protection packs from hempusa.org are now in stock for immediate delivery worldwide. Our iodine protection packs include microplant powder, green life kelp, red palm oil, and our clear roll-on iodine that will feed the body the iodine it needs. All iodine protection packs are in stock, save you money, and ship for free in all 50 states. Visit hempusa.org or call 908-691-2608 today. HempUSA.org has a revolutionary wonder food for detoxing the body and rebuilding the immune system. Microplant powder can help unclog arteries and soften heart valves while removing heavy metals, virus, fungus, bacteria, and parasites. Plus, it cleans and purifies the blood, lungs, stomach, and colon. Keep your body clean with microplant powder. Visit us at HempUSA.org or call 908-691-2608 today.
Are you still a traditional smoker? Now experience a new lifestyle and try vaping with e-cigarettes by LeSig. Imagine no ashes, stains, nasty smell, or coughing and hacking. With LeSig e-cigarettes' revolutionary microelectronic technology, rechargeable battery, and unique replaceable cartridge, you'll get all the benefits and satisfaction of smoking without the hazards. Choose your taste from a wide variety of our new American-made vape-free e-liquids at LeSig.com. And LeSig smokes the competition by serving thousands of worldwide customers with real people customer service, fast, free, same-day shipping, and a 30-day warranty and satisfaction guarantee. So are you ready for a new vaping lifestyle? Then call 870-518-4307. That's 870-518-4307. Or visit LeSig.com, spelled LECIG.com. LeSig e-cigarettes for today's modern smoker.
This is Kurt Southerly, author of UFO Mysteries, and you're listening to the Paracast.
We're talking about the case of Donald Trump, and you've been hearing segments of their interview that Ruben Uriarte and Noe Torres did for their book Aliens in the Forest. Guys, wanted to ask the question I raised earlier. Did it occur to you that strange how low-tech these aliens were and what they were doing?
Yes, Noe and I we've been discussing that, and as far as unlike other cases, the fact that these guys, if they really wanted to harm him, I mean, they could have done something else, but they didn't. But again, Don put up a hell of a fight where he shot his arrows, and depending on the time, we have a description in the audio where basically Don used low-tech weaponry against these aliens. He used fire. He used anything that he could throw at them. He broke off branches, and he used his bow and arrows. Now, it would have been we don't know what the outcome would have been had he actually had a rifle or a gun. This is something that we've been discussing. They could have.
E.T. was lucky that night, I guess.
Yeah.
No, sometimes these more advanced types of weaponry do not operate in the presence of these UFOs. So it's, oftentimes experts tell us that if our planet is ever invaded by a superior alien race, low tech would actually be the way that would offer us the most options to overcome in the long run. So Mr.
Something like the movie Day the Earth Stood Still, where Klaatu and Gort disable our electric power systems.
Exactly, but Mr. Shrum had no such electrical systems at all. He had one of the mankind's most primitive weapons, which was a bow and arrow, and then he resorted to throwing fire down at them. If we have time to listen to this next clip.
Sure, let's do that right now, where he's throwing fire and coins at E.T. and their robot.
That's a good twist.
Then I ran out of arrows, so I only had 3 left, and I thought, well, that's when pomade hair is just, I mean, the cap I had on was just soaked with oil.
This is for your hair?
Yeah, from my hair, yeah, pomade. And I always carried all kinds of books of matches with me when I hunted. And so I lit that cap, and it just blazed up, and I dropped it down the base of the tree. And just in that instant, they moved back about 12, 15 feet, and I glanced over at the ship that was over the canyon, kind of almost level with me. And it was almost out of sight. It was just like a star. It moved that fast.
Wow.
Just in that second. So then I got the idea that they're scared of fire. So I burned everything but my T-shirt and my jeans. And come to find out later on that it was 32 degrees out, and I was shaking and kind of overexposed for the weather. And at one time I had a bunch of change, and I threw it down, and they all kind of gathered around it. Well,
they were very rich ETs, huh?
I love it. Hey, he's throwing money.
Stuff and throwing it down. And I even tied some of my shirt that I ripped up to a compass, so I could try to hit some brush, because there wasn't nothing right underneath the tree. And then I caught a little pile of brush on fire. I figured that would bring the cavalry. That when I run out of stuff to burn, I headed for the top of the tree. And then it was pretty sparse tree. I could see down to the ground. And I broke off the top and threw it down. And anytime I throw down or shake the tree, these humanoids would back up.
Obviously, they were timid humanoids. Is that an observation to make?
My impression is that they weren't intending to run across any humans. I mean, obviously they were there on some other kind of mission.
It wasn't part of their game plan. It was something
It wasn't part of their initial game plan, but...
Yeah, no, I also have another question. How far down in the timeline are we at this point where he's exhausted his resources to fight them off? He's climbed to the top of the tree. They're picking up coins, thinking they're getting a tip from the whole deal. How far down in the timeline are we in terms of the timeline?
And the other question, Chris, is whether you can buy off ET. If you offer them some money, they won't abduct you.
Well, it may have worked. I mean, I'm still, you say this is a 12-hour event. Where are we in the timeline?
Okay, so we've done research into this, and sundown that evening, September 4th, 1964, occurred at about 7 p.m. Pacific time. And Mr. Shrum sighted the mothership at about 9 p.m., to about 2 hours after sundown. And at sometime between 9:30 and 10 p.m. Is when he sighted the humanoids, followed shortly thereafter by the first robot. So the actual battle between Shrum and the aliens raged from about 10:30 until daybreak, which was the next day, according to our research, was about 5:30 a.m. So we are getting now toward the last few parts of this story when of the encounter.
Do you want to play a later part of the interview here to get a sense of how it was wrapping up?
I think we can play the major turning point of the whole encounter is going to be the next clip, which he's been getting these periodic vapor being emitted from this mechanical type creature. It knocks him out. Then when he comes to a few seconds or a minute or two later, then he sees the humanoids trying to climb the tree. And this goes on repetitively for a while.
Is this the final gassing recording?
Right.
Okay, let's hear that right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
After I went to the top of the tree, I had a military belt, and I moved it out to the last hitch and put it around me and the tree. So in case I did get gassed, I wouldn't fall down. And then like I said, I threw change down and everything to try to distract them. And then finally, these two humanoids stepped back from the tree, and another robot came, and there was two just about the same place that the two humanoids were. And they stood facing each other, and flames just like lightning, and it real bright, and it just came between them. And then the gas was so thick coming up the tree that it would dissipate just about the time I got to me. But then that's when I'd start gas for air, and then when I woke up from that, it was light, but the sun hadn't come up yet, and I was just hanging by my belt, my head down, my feet down, and they were gone. Well, I knew I made it. I lived through the night.
Just to go back, did you fall asleep, or this gas? Did it overwhelm you?
Yeah, that's when it completely engulfed the whole tree and got up to me, and I don't know how long I was out, but it was just you could see just a dim glow of the sun on the clouds and stuff, not clouds, but in the sky. And then when I woke up, it was light, but the sun hadn't come up yet.
We're hearing there from Donald Trump talking about the case in the book Aliens in the Forest with Ruben Uriarte and Noe Torres with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you own an Apple iPhone and love to listen to your favorite programs on GCN, I've got good news for you. I'm proud to announce that GCN has a brand new iPhone app available for our dedicated listeners at GCNlive.com. Listen to your favorite hard-hitting GCN programs live or on demand right on your iPhone. And the best part? The GCN iPhone app can be yours absolutely free. Download the iPhone app today by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit and carting to a private bank, having it lent back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Ted Anderson, I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
This is going to be fascinating. It's very rare on the Paracast that we actually let you hear the witnesses of the case, unless we have the witnesses on, of course. We're listening to the incredible, frightening encounter in his youth. A young man in his 20s, Donald Trump, being confronted by possible alien beings or robotic creature, being shot gas. What a mess. Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte are putting it all together. Okay, guys, in our final portion of the show here, tell us, after this, where did this go? What happened next?
Well, as we heard in the last clip before the break, Mr. Shrum passed out when he saw another robotic-looking creature come up to the base of the tree, and the two robots faced each other. There was a flash of light that came between them, and then a tremendous volume of vapor, much more than he had previously experienced, came up and engulfed the entire tree and knocked him out for what could have been hours. He doesn't know exactly how long he was out, but when he came to, it was nearly daybreak, and there was no sign of the creatures. They were gone. Everything was still, and he was hanging by this military belt that he had draped around the trunk of the tree, and he was just hanging there, head down, in the tree. And
how far up was he?
He was approximately 8 or 9 feet off the ground, I believe.
He's really lucky that he didn't fall.
Right.
Boy.
Well, wait a minute. He said he climbed to the top of the tree. How tall was the tree?
That's a really good question. Do you remember the height of the tree, Ruben?
No, I think it was about based on the height of the on the pictures. I would say it's about at least 30 feet. There was another item that Don had shared with us. He said when he had first climbed up that tree, he had noticed that there were bear claws on the bark already. Yeah, so anyway, the thing that Don had shared with us was that when he initially climbed up that tree, he noticed there were a number of bear claws markings on it. So that tree has been visited before. The other thing that was really interesting is that tree was on a ledge of a canyon. He actually thought of jumping off, and he didn't want to be captured. He would have. That's what it was going through his mind. He was going to jump down to the canyon floor. But what changed his mind was the fact that he had, as Noe had mentioned earlier, a young baby girl who was about a year old and a young wife, and this is what motivated him to to survive.
All right. Now, what happened to his two friends?
Okay, that's a very good question. It fits in here very nicely because the initial appearance of the mothership coming down from the Earth's atmosphere and hovering over Mr. Schrumpf's position, that was witnessed by one of the other hunters that was with him, although he was physically separated by a couple of miles. He was at another place in the forest. He saw that mothership arriving out of the sky, and unbeknownst to him at that time, this was Mr. Schrumpf's friend Vincent Alvarez, who later filed a written affidavit stating that he saw the initial appearance of the mothership. Unknown to Mr. Alvarez at the time, when he saw the object zoom across the sky and then go and stop somewhere up ahead, he didn't realize that ship was now right at the position where Mr. Schrumpf was located at that time. The third hunter had made his way back to the base camp that they had established earlier in the day, Tim Trueblood, who was a resident of Loomis, California. So he had made his way back to camp, and eventually Mr. Alvarez also joined him at the base camp, and they were unaware of what was going on just a few miles away in the tree where Mr. Schrumpf was fighting off these strange creatures.
So they got to see the ship, or whatever it was, but they never knew until they talked with him later what
Right.
Donald had encountered.
That's correct. Now, when he came down from the tree, he saw all the stuff that he had thrown down, the night before. He found his arrowheads, and he kind of stumbled his way back toward the camp. And about halfway back to where the camp would have been, he basically passed out from fatigue. But at that time, his buddies were already looking for him, and Vincent Alvarez was the one who found him in the brush, helped him back to camp. And he told them a little bit of the story, but then he basically fell asleep for 6 hours. And it wasn't until, after he woke up that he finally told them. And at that point, Mr. Alvarez realized that the ship that Mr. Schrumpf had seen was the very ship that he also witnessed coming down out of the sky.
I just have one question that occurs to me here. Did Mr. Schrumpf ever have any feeling that something else happened, maybe transpired while he was knocked out?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because that's exactly what plagued him for a long period of time after this. In addition to suffering ill effects that today we would call post-traumatic stress syndrome, he had screaming nightmares where he'd wake up covered in sweat. His wife testified to he had a lot of trouble, nightmares about these beings that he saw in the forest that night. But in addition to all that, they were very concerned that perhaps, as far as he knew, he blacked out that last time, and he was out for a long period of time, that perhaps the creatures had finally gotten to him, done whatever they wanted to with him, and then just left him there in the tree. And that was a great matter of concern until he underwent hypnosis at the behest of UFO investigator Paul Cerny, the late Paul Cerny, in 1967, which was 3 years after the event. They had a session of hypnosis in the Schrumpf's home arranged by Mr. Cerny, and they took him back. They regressed him to the incident in the forest. They had him view the whole thing from the perspective of a detached observer looking down at the events. And it was at that point that it became clear to Mr. Schrumpf that the creatures had never reached him, and that they had departed shortly after he was finally blacked out for the last time.
That's really important.
I guess he was also really lucky.
It was after that that session of hypnosis was what put his mind at ease, because up until that point, he was extremely fearful that they would come back for him, or that they might have done something to him, maybe implanted something in him. But the hypnosis gave him the confidence, the peace of mind that they had never actually reached him at all. That was a strong impression that he got as a result of reliving the experience.
Parenthetically, did he ever have any further UFO encounters throughout his life?
Actually, he did, and there were instances. There was one instance where the family was camping, Mr. Shrum, Mrs. Shrum, and some friends, not at the Tahoe National Forest, but at another location. It was a family camping trip, and they were sitting around the campfire one evening talking, totally not related to UFOs or anything. I mean, it had been a while since this incident had happened. They had kind of put it out of their minds as best they could. But while they were talking around that campfire, all of a sudden, Mr. Shrum was like in mid-sentence when all of a sudden he turned around, and everybody that was sitting around the campfire noticed that he was staring off behind him at a ridge. There was a ridge nearby. And so he was looking, he was kind of holding one of his ears, and all of a sudden, over the ridge zoomed this glowing UFO that passed right over their camp. And all of the members of that camping party saw this. And after it had zoomed past them and gone past, they asked Mr. Shrum, how was it that he, that he had turned prior to the appearance of this object? And he told them that he knew they were coming. He had heard this vibration in his ear, which nobody else that was there heard.
Well, I'll get into more of that in a moment. They were not good vibrations. Noe Torres joins us, Ruben Uriarte, with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Are you ready to order the official Paracast t-shirt? You asked, we answered. We're now taking orders for the official Paracast t-shirt. It comes in white, 100% cotton. The front of it features the same logo that we have on our community forums. On the back it says, separating signal from noise. To order the official Paracast t-shirt, here's all you have to do. Visit our new online store at store.theparacast.com. One more time, that's store.theparacast.com. You can use a major credit card to place your order for the official Paracast t-shirt. Hey neighbors, we have one more thing to talk about, and that's more merchandise at the official Paracast store. We have hats, we have jackets, we even have a flip video camcorder customized with the Paracast logo at the official Paracast store. It's all now available at the official Paracast store, store.theparacast.com.
Hey everybody, Jason Lewis here once again. These are hard times for investors. If you're like me, you just don't know where to put your money because there's a downside to every possible scenario. Now look, every portfolio needs a hedge for inflation. Gold has been the classic. I want to be honest with you, commodities fluctuate. So you could lose money. Gold goes up and down. But every stable portfolio usually has an inflation hedge, and gold is, well, the gold standard. Washington is not going to get us out of this recovery, so you've got to protect yourself. Give it some thought, and if you're interested in converting your IRA to gold or would like to actually have it in your possession, call Midas Resources today at 1-800-686-2237. The U.S. dollar was once backed by gold, but it's lost a lot of its value since then. Call Midas Resources today, 1-800-686-2237 for gold. That's 1-800-686-2237, and tell them Jason Lewis sent you.
Hi, I'm Mark Craighead, founder of Crossbreed Holsters. I designed our top-selling holster, the Super Tuck Deluxe, to solve the problems of being poked, pinched, and gouged while carrying concealed. The Super Tuck Deluxe is the most comfortable, most concealable holster on the market today. We offer a 2-week free trial and a lifetime warranty.
Visit us at crossbreedholsters.com. Don't forget, crossbreedholsters.com. In a coming-apart world, you need something to keep it tied together. That something is Atwood Rope, the highest quality rope made in the USA, from exotic braids for military, rescue, arborists, shipyards, tow line, or boating. Quality rope at affordable prices you and your customers can depend on. Find a dealer or shop online at atwoodrope.net. Enter promo code RADIO to receive 100 feet of 550 paracord free with purchase. Atwood Rope, working to keep the world tied together.
I have bought a few bottles of Heart and Body Extract and have to say that it certainly does work.
That's what Jack from Michigan had to say after his experience with heart pain and what he did to treat it with Heart and Body Extract.
I actually had a huge heart flutter. I was also having some edema around my ankles and very worrisome clot in my right leg that would happen from time to time. I was trying to sleep.
Heart and Body Extract is all natural with no negative side effects. It will help repair or correct past problems associated with the heart and body circulation.
After my second bottle of Heart and Body Extract, all problems are now gone.
Order at hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305.
I ordered a third bottle of Heart and Body Extract for maintenance, as I want to keep everything working.
Order Heart and Body Extract at 866-295-5305 or hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract for a long and healthy life.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And if you'd like to catch up on past episodes, we have hundreds of shows for you to download direct from theparacast.com. That's theparacast.com. Or check us out at iTunes.
I'm sorry about that crazy crack. Disc jockey crack about good vibrations, but in the 60s, that was a popular song. Noe
That was
Torres,
very popular.
Ruben Uriarte. The book is called Aliens in the Forest. Okay, so when did this occur again?
The incident where he experienced a UFO sighting was in 1967 or 68, if memory recalls. I don't have the exact date here, but it was some years after the encounter.
Any other encounters after these two?
Well, there was a strange episode that's told by his wife where they were again camping and they were in their tent late at night and it was totally dark. They felt a presence. They heard a rustling noises and they felt a presence inside the tent. They kind of huddled together in their sleeping bags and they just didn't want to deal with whatever might be there in the tent with them. And so they kind of just didn't do anything, just kind of weathered the storm, and then nothing further happened. So they weren't sure if it might have been some kind of wild animal that had gotten in their tent, but they had this feeling that there was a presence in that tent with them.
It gets a little more messier after this in dealing with his report to the United States Air Force, which if we're already past now this aspect of it.
Okay, at what point did he report this to the Air Force?
Well, that's a very interesting question because it was not his intent to seek out any publicity about this. He was worried about his job with the missile defense contracting firm that he worked with. And he did mention only to his immediate family members what had happened. And his mother-in-law happened to know a former college professor of hers who was an astronomer. So the mother-in-law, arranged for Mr. Shrum to speak to this astronomer there in the Sacramento area. And so Mr. Shrum spoke to him by phone about his encounter, and then they went to see him also in person. Well, this gentleman turned around and contacted one of the local Air Force bases to tell them, actually wrote a letter telling them about Mr. Shrum's encounter. Well, as a result of this, 2 Air Force investigators were sent. A meeting was arranged with Mr. Shrum and 2 investigators that they later found out had been dispatched out of Wright-Patterson Air Base in Dayton, Ohio, which at that time was the center of the world when it came to government UFO investigations. That was where Project Blue Book was run out of. That was where a lot of folks have said that there were a lot of odd UFO-related investigations being done by the government at that time. Well, these 2 investigators...
Noe, was this particular case, now I don't seem to recall this was ever part of Blue Book. Okay?
There were a lot of things that were part of Blue Book that were not disclosed to the public. They only disclosed...
But officially, this was not a Blue Book case. And I could see why they would keep it secret because of the Aerojet witnesses. But to my recollection, this is not an official Blue Book case.
They did not release it to the public. There were a lot of cases that were investigated, looked at by Blue Book, and were not released for public consumption. They tended to release only the weaker cases that had the easiest explanations, conventional explanations, and they kept back the real puzzlers for which there
the fact
seemed
that the
to
Air
be,
Force dispatched Air Force officers to investigate the case, and it wasn't part of Blue Book. I mean, that lends credence to the case, in my estimation.
Right. Now, Dr. J.
You also have to wonder, before you go on, you have to wonder also, that being the case, how many sightings did Blue Book gather that never got into any of those reports?
Exactly. If we read the materials written by J. Allen Hynek, who was a lead scientific investigator for Project Blue Book for years, for the whole time of its existence, and afterward he became one of the leading spokesmen for UFO research and became a civilian UFO researcher himself. If you read his statements after leaving Blue Book, it becomes clear, and he said it himself, that Blue Book was not an agency that was really trying to get at the mystery of the UFOs. Their purpose was to try to allay public fears and suspicions, and to just put out the cases that were extremely easy to to talk about and to circumvent and give conventional explanations for. So he himself was very, very high on the Shrum case, and he did a lot of the investigation into it. So he knew that there was something really solid and credible here, just as he did with the Pascagoula, Mississippi case.
Because of it, we're running short on time. The thing that made this very interesting is that the Shrums did meet with these two Air Force officials, and he did, he explained to them what had happened, but they didn't believe him. They were coming up with a number of excuses. They were saying that perhaps it could have been caused by a group of Boy Scouts who were young teenagers that were out there in the woods doing a prank,
or was gassing somebody. That's always something that teenagers
and the
do.
most ridiculous was that they could have been these Noe Japanese soldiers.
Yeah, there could have been some holdover Japanese soldiers from World War II still hanging around in the woods there, causing havoc upon poor Americans who happened to be hunting in the woods. So that was another explanation that was shot out there.
This stuff is wacky. It sounds really
it gets
strange.
very strange, yes. And, well, here's the thing is that Don and his brother and some friends, they returned back to the site about 2-3 weeks later. They found the tree. They found where the charred markings from the fire. But the thing that really caught their attention was the fact that that entire area was raked. It was picked clean. They found a bunch of cigarette butts, cigarette packages, and immediately they just knew that the Air Force or some military large task group was there.
We have a really interesting clip on that from Mr. Shrum, if we would have time for it.
Sure.
On the Air Force investigation, so-called. Talking to the U.S. Air Force. Okay.
I'll tell you what, we'll do that in the next segment because we don't have much time left before we have to spend a little time with our benefactors. But it'd be interesting to get his reaction. Talking to the Air Force, Donald Shrum, and his encounter with them and the way they reacted to the case. And as you were telling me, of course, their efforts to explain it away. Oh, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. It's swamp gas. That's before swamp gas. We didn't have swamp gas then.
Japanese
soldiers.
Oh, that's wacky. That's or maybe just some of the ones that they interned during World War II. They escaped finally.
In California.
George Takei was there. That's it. Sulu came over. It was all Sulu's fault. George Takei did it.
Spielberg's movie, 1941.
Donald Shrum is the witness we've been hearing from. We're hearing also from Noe Torres, Ruben Uriarte, authors of Aliens in the Forest. This is got to be one of the more fascinating cases we've heard. It's something that, not just something flying overhead or someone being abducted, but hours and hours of being terrorized by who knows what these creatures were. I think Chris O'Brien there is channeling his inner trickster. You never know. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE Soft.com. LEMKE Soft.com.
Has the United States been discovered in the Bible?
Where does Islam fit in Bible prophecy?
Is the New World Order world government?
These and other crucial end-time questions are answered in the new DVD package, Understanding the End Time, from End Time Ministries. Jesus Christ said, "I tell you these things before they come to pass, so that when they do come to pass, you might believe." After you watch this 14-lesson DVD series, Understanding the End Time, you'll know more about Bible prophecy than the average seminary graduate. This DVD package normally sells for $280, but now is only $199. Order Understanding the End Time DVD package at endtime.com today for only $199 or call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. 1-800-363-8463 or endtime.com.
Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. That bears repeating. Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. And Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse is the key to digestive health. Pro EM1 is a powerful liquid probiotic, strong enough to cleanse, gentle enough to use every day. Pro EM1 is dairy, wheat, and soy free, contains all natural and certified organic ingredients, contains no preservatives or animal products, supports a healthy digestive and immune system, supports weight loss, improves absorption of food nutrients, aids in controlling yeast infections, is never freeze-dried, and uses 3 groups of live, viable, beneficial microbes to cleanse and remove toxins. Order Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse at Terraganics.com, spelled TerraGanix.com, Terraganics.com. Or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Pro EM1, the raw probiotic.
Did you ever think you'd be where you are a decade into the 21st century? Record foreclosure rates for homes, if not yours, your neighbors. Thankful for the unemployment check since you were laid off. And placing your child's name on the angel tree in hopes of a Christmas gift, along with thousands of other Americans. Did you ever think your future would feel this out of control? The fact is, in all this craziness, there's only one thing you can control. Your greatest dependency, your food supply. Make 2012 the year you take control by getting prepared. eFoods Direct introduces the best way to build your food supply in the 21st century. Get a 21-day supply of food free with purchase. Call 800-409-5633 or go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex. Take back control in 2012. Call 800-409-5633 or go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex. Remember, you can bet your life on eFoods Direct.
This is Jerome Clark, author of the UFO Encyclopedia and other books. You're listening to the Paracast.
As we continue with our discussion of the encounters of Donald Trump, the book Aliens in the Forest with Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte, we do have a segment here where Donald Trump discusses his meetings with the Air Force back in the 1960s when Project Blue Book was really here and how they reacted. Let's hear that.
Then what happened afterwards, Don? How did you talk to anyone else about your...
Well, my family, I told them. And then the only outside person at that time was a professor at one of the colleges. And my mother-in-law had gone it was her professor when she was younger. So we told him the story, and he's the one that contacted the Air Force.
So what happened there, John, with the Air Force?
Well, they made an appointment with two post-bid representatives of the Air Force, and they tried to disillusion me. They said, well, you know, the Japanese might have had somebody up there, you know, they were still, you know, and they said it was Boy Scouts dressed up, you know, in costume just to scare somebody. And I said, yeah, I'm sure they're going to spend all night and keep a guy in a tree, you know. And, then they said the Army probably bivouacked up there, and it was in a training camp. So my father-in-law was in the Air Force, so he called and found out there was no military in that area for any reason, because it was a pretty desolate area. And they tried to disillusion me in every way they could. And they took the Arrowhead, the main one, and they said, well, we'll get back to you, and you can have this back as soon as we get through with it, which I never did. But when I went back up there during rifle season, I found the other arrow, the third one.
You found two then, and then you found the other one.
And when we went back, the area had been raked. There's an area probably 50 feet around that tree, and there was cigarette packages and cigar butts, and so I know the Air Force checked it out pretty good. And they had an easy way to find it, because there's an orange circle around that tree where it caught little fires, and it was showing orange, so they had no problem finding it. And I marked on the map that they had where it was, the location.
Interesting here, of course, how careless the Air Force is. You know, they leave cigarettes, and they leave cigarette packs. You almost think they wanted to be caught.
Well, they took a bunch of guys, you know, on a detail and didn't give them any information. They just said, you know, rake this place up, you know, clean it up. So they had no idea what they were doing, and it makes sense. We've had similar accounts by witnesses in the past where everything is pretty much raked clean. And Mr. Shrum said there were definitely footprints all around the area, very strange little footprints, you know, prior to the Air Force coming in and cleaning everything up. So,
were any photographs taken when they went back up there during rifle season? Did anyone think of bringing a camera along?
Yeah, in our book, there's a whole bunch of pictures that were taken by Mr. Shrum and his brother. You know, they took pictures of the tree and the surrounding area. But by that time, of course, the Air Force had been there, and there wasn't much left. And also in the clip, he mentioned that the Air Force had taken the one arrowhead that had definite trace evidence of it on it from having struck the robot creature. It had, first of all, it had been bent over. You know,
I'm assuming it was a metal arrowhead, because it sparked when it
sparked, and it sparked and it curled up from the force of hitting this robot, and it had pieces of some kind of or shavings or traces of something from the surface of that robot creature. So Mr. Shrum felt that one arrow had the best chance of being analyzed in a lab and found to contain whatever materials these creatures were made of. You know,
I have a bizarre question. It just occurred to me, guys. Okay, so the Air Force obviously made an intense investigation of this. Did you folks ever try to send a Freedom of Information inquiry to see if there's any documentation?
Actually, Mr. Cerny and Mr. Shrum did. You know, it's in the late '60s, and we have some of those documents, we have a number of correspondences between the Air Force and the civilian UFO investigators with NICAP and later MUFON. But basically, they kind of shuffled this under piles of papers, and they classified it as psychological. That was after they gathered everything and talked to the witness, they explained it away as being a psychological case.
So basically, he had a 12-hour freakout.
Well, no. He was up there, and he stumbled on some panther amanitas, or they probably didn't have cows up there, so probably there were no cubensis, but maybe some amanita. I mean, they could explain this away with a variety of plants in the Sierras, but Gene, we both know that the Air Force has a way of ascribing ridiculous interpretations of cases back in this time period. So I personally feel that something happened to the guy based on just listening to the tape recordings.
It seems so straight, credible. So straightforward.
Yeah,
the way he relates really credible. Like, okay, this is what happened to me. Here we go. And the fact
I like his little chuckles. Sure. When he says something kind of almost absurd, he chuckles like, oh, well.
Yeah. He's a very down-to-earth individual. He's not given
I'm
to
very
flights
intrigued by this whole thing. I want to know more.
I think we'd like to have him on the show.
Yeah.
Would he be willing, do you think, to come on the show?
I would love to talk to this guy. This is fabulous stuff, man.
Sure.
Is there a way that we can get any sort of FOIA in regards to that arrow? Man, because you're right, that has probably had really definable physical evidence on it.
Well, the last correspondence between the Air Force and the Shrums in the early 70s, I believe, the Air Force claimed that they no longer had it in their possession, that it had been given to a university somewhere, and then the Shrums tried to trace it at that university and couldn't. Ruben, do you have any additional details on that?
Pretty much what you mentioned there, Noe, and that's something real quickly. Do you remember that television show called Project UFO back in 1978 that was produced by Jack Webb? Do you recall that?
This was something where these were investigators of UFO cases, and it was like Joe Friday.
No, yes,
exactly.
But they were
and Officer Frank Smith, but chasing UFOs instead of criminals.
That's exactly what it was, yeah.
Well, they were with Project Blue Book, and there were the two Air Force officers that went around. I think there were about 36 episodes that were produced, and they actually did do a whole episode on the Cisco Grove case, although it was totally distorted in many
laughable.
ways.
It was laughable, and it was very clear that a lot of these Project UFO episodes were meant to bolster the Blue Book view of what had happened. And interestingly enough,
that's what Jack Webb was like. Jack Webb would always go to the official sources to get information. Exactly. That's what he did with Dragnet. He made Dragnet as close as possible to the actual experiences of the LA Police Department.
But the Cisco Grove episode of that show was so laughable, they actually dragged out of mothballs the suit that was used of Robbie the Robot from the classic movie Fantastic Planet in the 50s.
I love it.
Forbidden Planet was the movie, and of course that was the same costume they used in Lost in Space, believe it or not.
And they did
Danger Will Robinson. Oh, by the way, the actor who did that voice, Danger Will Robinson, he died recently. Anyway, we're talking about the case of Donald Shrum with Ruben Uriarte and Noe Torres. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Fortean phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, and the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to mrufo@webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
We all know that Berkey water purification systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey water filtration systems. The Berkey Light systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light system today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
That's what it sounds like when a burglar kicks in the door of a dark house that looks like no one is home. Don't let your home be the next target. Make it look like someone is home watching television with Fake TV. Fake TV is a small electronic device that makes the same light as a real television, so from outside it looks like someone is home watching TV. Fake TV plugs in just like a lamp on a timer, but is far more convincing to burglars. Fake TV deters burglars, costs far less than an alarm, and is highly recommended by numerous police departments. Use it anytime you're away from home. To order your Fake TV for only $34.95, go to faketv.com. or call 1-877-5-FAKE-TV. Each additional Fake TV is only $29.95, so get one for you and one for a loved one for safety, security, and peace of mind for both of you. Call 877-5-FAKE-TV or go to faketv.com. faketv.com, the burglar deterrent.
Iodine protection packs from hempusa.org are now in stock for immediate delivery worldwide. Our iodine protection packs include microplant powder, green life kelp, red palm oil, and our clear roll-on iodine that will feed the body the iodine it needs. All iodine protection packs are in stock, save you money, and ship for free in all 50 states. Visit hempusa.org or call 908-691-2608 today. HempUSA.org has a revolutionary wonder food for detoxing the body and rebuilding the immune system. Microplant powder can help unclog arteries and soften heart valves while removing heavy metals, virus, fungus, bacteria, and parasites. Plus, it cleans and purifies the blood, lungs, stomach, and colon. Keep your body clean with microplant powder. Visit us at HempUSA.org or call 908-691-2608 today.
This is Jim Mosley, editor of Saucer Smear, and I'm here to say a good word or two about the Paracast, which I believe is the gold standard of paranormal radio. Listen to it if you can.
There's the robotic Chris O'Brien. I'm serious, the guy who did the voice Danger Will Robinson. I forget the announcer's name, very famous announcer, no longer with us. On a more serious note, we've heard of the recent passing of longtime UFO investigator Lucius Farish, who was a friend of mine, and we're sad to see him go. And, of course, we send our sympathies to his many friends around the world. Lucius Farish. We have Noe Torres, Ruben Uriarte. We're talking about the case of Donald Trump, aliens in the forest. Now, this is the final segment of the show, so let's go through some of the issues pretty quickly. Over the years, once this happened, what do you think are the long-term effects to his life, other than just remembering something pretty frightening?
Well, the interesting thing about it, as we had talked about earlier when we first started the show, in fact, is that Mr. Shrum has a vivid recall of the entire experience, even these many years afterward.
Does he still have the nightmares you talked about in the early years?
Well, no. He those only lasted a couple of years. He underwent the hypnotic regression, and that helped him to kind of step out of himself and look at the whole picture that was going on that night. And he got this peace of mind of knowing that the aliens had never reached him. And after that, he was a lot more calm and settled about it. However, as Ruben has described, he always gets this reaction from when he tells the story. There's a definite physical reaction, and Ruben can talk more about that.
Yeah. Again, just looking at his body language and him stating what had happened to him, you could see that this man has been definitely affected by something that happened many years ago, but it's still alive with him right now.
We have a really good clip, if we have time for it, on the after effects of the encounter. I don't know if we could squeeze that in.
I'll tell you what, I'm an expert squeezer. So I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do some magic here.
Yeah,
and
that's what
we're
she
going
told me,
to
Gene.
squeeze. Let me just, press it a little bit tighter, do some audible squeezing, and we're now going to hear the after effects.
I'd like to go there. I just wanted to ask you, how has this affected you? Did you have any nightmares or any...
Well, for a year, I had, screaming nightmares. I'd wake up yelling, those eyes, and I'd be just a cold sweat, just be drenched with sweat. And I even thought about, when I was up in the top of that tree, I thought about just jumping off and jumping down the canyon and just killing myself. But the only thing that kept me going is I had the little girl, my wife, and that kept me fighting.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's some way to react to it right there.
The thing that he said to us the thing that he said in the final interview is, "Hey, I won. They didn't take me."
Yeah, he's still here. Did he ever want to try to do his own UFO investigation? Talk to other people who had experiences?
Ruben had all the materials that they collected for years afterward about almost every major case in the U.S. and many from around the world. So they kept clippings and that they were especially looking for similar events that had robot connections that were similar to what Don. So they've maintained this search and this focus on trying to understand what happened to Mr. Shrum. And in fact, that's one of the primary motivations they had for having us put this into the form of a book and getting the story finally out to the general public, because they want to know to this day what it was exactly that he encountered and what explanations, if any, can be found about it.
After all this time, did they contact you or did you contact them?
Ruben made the initial contact. He can.
Yeah, I actually was through another former colleague who knew them, and as I mentioned earlier, I had the case files, and then when she had told me that she knew them, and then she had arranged the meeting for me to go and talk to them, and actually they were very kind to invite me over and spend time with them. So they, as it turned out, and I was just very fortunate to team up with Noe to put this into a book. This is exactly what they wanted. They wanted to get the story out and told by them how it happened.
Very much their description. Fascinating story, and certainly something that is going to deserve a lot of explanation, and we're glad he's still around to tell us all about it. Is he willing to come on a show like this?
Oh, we could ask if not his son, or he is going through, unfortunately, some health issues, and
all right.
So we're not quite sure how we would handle it. But we're just very lucky that we had the audio and the film clips that we had put together, and back in 2005, which we had been able to use the material for our book and all the other additional documents that were given to us from the family.
Ruben and Noe, really, thank you so much for putting the time in on this case. This is a fascinating, I think a very important case, and you guys have done a really good job based on my limited knowledge of this. I am really intrigued about this case, and I want to know more. Tell us about the book a little bit and how people can get copies. And would you guys be willing to come on the Paracast forum and enter into a dialogue with our forum posters? This is going to generate an incredible amount of interest. And if you guys can squeeze some time out, it would be great to have you guys interact with some of our posters who are very, very up to speed.
Yeah, that sounds great. We'd like to do that, definitely. And our book, Aliens in the Forest, the Cisco Grove UFO Encounter, is available from Amazon.com and all of the major online booksellers. And it's also available through our website, as well as additional information about Mr. Shrum. We have some video testimony from him, and we have some information on our other books at roswellbooks.com. That's roswellbooks.com. And it's interesting because Ruben and I have either individually or collectively helped each other, and we've put out 7 books already on the UFO phenomenon, and we've gotten the most reaction from Aliens in the Forest. It seems that there's a tremendous amount of interest in this particular case. I think the authenticity of it, the genuineness of the witness, and the massive amount of documentation really, really bolsters this case.
The one thing I think our listeners have to appreciate here is the fact that unlike a lot of cases where everything is pretty academic or someone says, well, this person told me or this is what happened, you heard, ladies and gentlemen, in his own words, Donald Shrum telling you exactly what he experienced, all the details. So this is the one thing that separates this particular story from a lot of others, because now you can evaluate what you think. I mean, my impression is this guy's a straight shooter. Something really weird happened to him. And he's not just telling a story. You know when people are telling stories. And this guy is not telling a story. He's just trying to relate what really happened to him. The book is called Aliens in the Forest, the Cisco Grove UFO Encounter. Our guests have been Noe Torres and Ruben Uriarte. And they have this site, roswellbooks.com. We'll have a link to it at theparacast.com. And that's where they have this book available and other books. And, of course, you order directly from them. You know, they get the extra piece of money that Amazon would otherwise take. So we are grateful to let them have it. Chris O'Brien's got a place, too. Chris, tell us about your site.
Well, it's called the Paracast, but we're revamping Our Strange Planet. And I also want to put a nod out to the Mexican Roswell book, too, which I think Paracast listeners would really gain some very interesting insight into an intriguing little-known case.
And maybe we'll have you back on for that. We definitely want to talk to you again.
Absolutely. You guys, thank you so much for being on. This is really good stuff. I mean, please do come to the forum, all right?
Thank you very much, Chris and Gene, for the invitation and having us on. And it's an honor being on your show, and we look forward to connecting with your audience.
Yes, thank you so much.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.